What is a professional dominatrix?
There's cock and ball torture, nipple torture, there's golden showers.
So you pee on them?
Yes.
And they like it?
Yeah.
You came out of the womb a dominatrix with like a little whip.
Yeah, I would say whipping is one of my favorite activities.
Hello, my loves, and welcome back to Luvbites by Dr. Tara podcast, where we talk about all things sex. And today, I am really excited about my guest because I've been trying to have her on this show forever, and just timing has never worked, and she travels a lot. And so I finally have her on here, and we're going to learn so much from her. This is our professional dominatrix, world-renowned, and it's Colette Pervette.
Thank you so much for having me.
You sound sexy already.
Thank you.
So when people say professional dominatrix, I think people think of these like tropes in the movies almost. That's why like my very first question is like, what is a professional dominatrix?
I think a professional dom is someone who knows how to weave fantasies into reality, and people come to her for this service so that they share with her their deepest, wildest, innermost desires, and she creates a safe space for them to explore all of their desires, fetishes, fantasies without judgment and with curiosity and play.
Wow.
And she pushes them to their edges and all these other fun things as well. But I think broadly, that is what a dominatrix does so well. She turns dreams into reality.
That's beautiful. I gotta get into the specifics though.
Okay.
So my question would be, how would you describe like the job description of a dominatrix to someone that's never heard before? Like what are the things that you do?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think like the qualities that a dominatrix needs is open-mindedness, curiosity, playfulness, and just no shame. And what she does is that she masters the skills of kink and BDSM. So it's kind of like the essential tools and toys. She knows how to play with all of them: the whip, the flogger, rope, electro play, all those things. So she's mastered these skills technically, but she's also an incredible listener. And she listens very carefully to what her sub needs, what their boundaries are, and how they feel. And that is ongoing before the session, during the session, and after the session. So it's someone who's very attuned and very intuitive and knows how to create a whole nother world that is based on your fantasies and desires.
Wow. So when someone's interested in having a session with you, what's the first step?
Well, they reach out, they share with me in a application form or email what their desires are, why they're seeking me. And then we have a phone call to see if this is a good fit. And then from there, if it feels like our desires are aligned, then we book a session. And when you first arrive for your session, before it even begins, we have the negotiation. And that's the period of time where I am doing intake and getting to know what all of their fantasies, desires, fetishes are, also their limits, and where they are with marks or no marks, the safe word. And then when we feel like we both have a good sense of what we want to co-create, our session begins. And they usually strip for me, take off all of their clothes. And then I just guide them through this journey of pushing them to experience the things that they want. And then also figure out where their soft boundaries are. It's the things that they're into, but then there's kind of an upper limit of how much they could take.
Right.
And so I like knowing where those soft boundaries are and how to kind of up their eroticism and excitement so that I could push those boundaries beyond what they think is possible. And they're like, wait, okay, I guess I wanted more than I thought.
And what kinds of things are people into?
Some typical activities is like bondage.
And it's men.
Mostly men see me. Some couples see me as well.
So they want like rope. They want to be roped up by you?
Yeah, they could either be tied up with rope, or it could be even like leather bondage, metal restraints. So it really depends on what their preferences are. And then there's corporal punishment, which is kind of like what you...
It sounds so cool. It's
And that's
It
kind
sounds a little bit like Big Brother, though, like a little scary, like corporal punishment.
I think it's supposed to have that vibe where
Yeah.
they're a little bit intimidated by like the punishment that they receive corporally. So it's like kind of the stereotypes that you see of like a dom with a whip or with a flogger. These are the tools that we work with, and also like the cane and all these other implements of pain.
So a common day for you is like hitting someone.
Yeah, I would say whipping is one of my favorite activities, especially with the flogger.
You're so good at it. I saw your videos. You can like spin it. It's like the airbender.
Yeah, it feels just like a dance for me when I could get into the rhythm
Yeah.
of it. And if I have a masochist who can let me flog them and whip them for a long time, then we're both in this state of trance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously this is like consensual, and for
Absolutely.
them, do they find it pleasurable?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the thing about like BDSM. It's all consensual. So it's all the things that you'd be like, ooh, why would somebody be into like getting hit, getting
Yeah.
kicked in the balls, being humiliated, degraded? It's because they want this. They're choosing it, and that's
Right.
what's so powerful. It's just
And
like
you provide a space that's non-judgmental.
Exactly.
When like if they share this in their normal day-to-day to someone, like people might judge them.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they may feel judged if they tell their partner that they want to wear diapers and act like a
Right.
baby, right? And so, but in the space that we create as DOMs, it's not only is it normalized, I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, I could do that.
Like totally.
Down.
Yeah.
Then
You're not the
wanna-
first.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
Then
not-
it's just
you're like I've babied an adult baby before. So I've heard that before about wearing a diaper and want to be treated like a baby and being brushed and things
Yeah.
like that. Is that what you do for them too as a dom?
That is something that most DOMs do. I wouldn't say it's my specialization. Maybe
Okay.
there's something about me. I'm not giving mom
You're not
as
giving
much.
mom.
So
You're
I
giving corporal punishment.
I think so. Yeah, that's mostly what I do more than like adult baby play and other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said
Yeah.
there's like bondage that's common.
Corporal
There's
punishment.
punishment that's common.
There's cock and ball torture,
Okay.
nipple torture. There's golden showers.
so you pee on them
Yes.
and they
yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
Do they
Yeah.
get a hard on from it or just like it, like just viscerally like it?
I would say most of them get excited
hard-on.
about it. Yeah.
Wow.
You've never experienced that?
I mean, I peed on someone
Yeah.
before, but it's not like it was like an experimental thing. It's not his thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see.
But
Yeah.
this is obviously someone that it's their thing. And they come to you to
Yeah.
have a non-judgmental space to do it.
Exactly. And they could be my toilet and drink it as well and all of that.
Wow. There's
Yeah.
everything. So you also mentioned electro something. What is that?
Electroplay. So there's some tools in our toy bag that has a lot of electricity, such as the violet wand. I'm not sure if you've ever seen that device. It kind of,
No.
it's like, I think you might have, it's very similar to what estheticians use to like do the thing in their face where it's like this purple glowing light and it has this like
Oh, yeah.
that. But imagine like the voltage of that times like 100 or something. It's more intense. And then like instead of it's
Like a
this like
cattle
massage on your
prod.
face, it's like on your cock and balls, your nipples.
So you
So-
zap their balls and they like it.
Yeah.
Do they get a hard on?
Some do. Some may not because it's such an intense sensation
Yeah.
that they don't. And then there's also something called Eros Tech. So if you've ever had like physical therapy where they put those pads on you and your like muscles kind of like contract.
Yeah.
So imagine that with other like attachments where it's not just a pad, but it's like a silicone sleeve that wraps around your balls and sends this like jolt of
Ooh.
electricity, or an anal plug that's
Wow.
connected to that as well. So you're getting these like surges of electricity through your asshole.
So many things to explore.
I know. It's like kind of being a kid again.
Yeah.
And yet this time you have adult toys and you get really clear about the boundaries of your like sandbox and how you want to play. But
Yeah.
it's pretty much, it feels like I get to be that 6-year-old version of me that's always like, oh, you haven't done that? Okay, we have to do that. Like
Yeah.
that's where I get off. I get excited being the first to show someone through this experience that they haven't experienced before.
I love that for you. Talking about showing something to someone for the first time, I want to show you Magic Mind. This is my
wow.
5th day taking it on a 7-day challenge.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
super cool. It's a mental performance shot.
Okay.
You can take it as a shot, or you can also take sips. You can also put it in your
Oh,
matcha. I know you like
I love
matchas.
it. It has all my favorite things: bacopa, lion's mane, ashwagandha, L-theanine. This is all that I love to take. Rhodiola as well.
They're all
Cool.
great stuff in it. Yeah. And, I think I get super jittery from coffee. So I love these. It helps me have like mental clarity. It relaxes me. So I feel like it lowers my stress.
It tastes good too.
Yeah.
That's
It
wild.
gives you this like calm energy rather than that kind of Energizer bunny jittery energy.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, it's super cool. And what I really like about it is like such a small but like potent drink.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to drink lots of coffee to like get the energy
Yeah.
that I need for the day,
And this is all that you need for the
It's packed
one
in
shot.
like such a small little shot, and it tastes good. And yeah, that's why I just think it's good
How
for your
long does it take for it
brain.
to kick in, do you think?
For me, it's like super fast.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So you feel it in this
Good.
interview for sure.
I'll let you know if I
definitely
feel something.
it.
I'm like, I feel sharper.
Yeah, like, I have this mental clarity. It's unexplainable. I don't know where it came from. It came from this.
I got some
Magic
downloads.
Mind.
Okay.
Yes. And they have a limited offer you can use now that gets you up to 40% off your first subscription or 20% off
Wow.
one-time purchases with code ByDrTara20 at checkout. You can claim it at the link in my episode description. You should totally check it out. It's clean energy. It helps with mental clarity. You'll be working nonstop with better focus and none of the jittery. So
And it
it's
tastes good too.
clean energy. Yeah. Okay, so I'm really curious about you have your sessions with one-on-one clients or couples.
Yep.
But then you also have the Dominatrix school.
Yes. Mistress Class.
Yeah, Mistress Class, where you have tons of students. I see your class photos. I'm like, where are these 40 people coming from? And, what are their walks of life? And why did they want to take this Dominatrix class? So talk to us about your Dominatrix school.
Yeah. So Mistress Class was something I started, I think, 3 years ago. And I have been mentoring women to become DOMs all through my 20 years of being a DOM. And I just thought, well, maybe there's a way in which I could teach not just one-on-one, but to a group of people. So I put it out there. I launched Mistress Class, and 111 women enrolled in the first class. And I was like, okay,
You're like, holy shit,
there's
people
a lot
want
of
this.
Yeah, exactly. And it's such a surprise, but I do feel like it is time to step into your power. And I think a lot of women are realizing that the dominatrix archetype is such a powerful feminine archetype, especially like a modern edgy one. And I think that a lot of women are getting the download, like, I should be a dom. This is going to help me step into my power.
And what's the dominatrix archetype, if you don't mind me asking?
I think she's kind of a hybrid of a lot of archetypes. And I think that Damiana Chi talks about this. I think for myself, when I think about the dominatrix, I think she's both like the disciplinarian. She's also the mother, right? She's also the seductress. And she's also, for me, she's the child. She's like full of curiosity and play, and there's no judgment. She's like, I'm down. So I think it's just like, and also the trickster and the goddess. I think that I embody all of these archetypes in my play, and with certain subs, certain sides come out more than others. But I think she is kind of like just this powerful, sexy, cool woman who knows what she wants and knows how to get it. And every day she moves closer to being able to say, I've seen it all.
Oh, wow.
And I think in being able to create a magnetic alter ego, such as a dom, it just gives you permission to be like sexy and turn it up to the max. You know, it's like everything that we do is this exaggerated form of like hypersexuality, right? Like our outfits, the latex, the heels, all of that is just like turning up like the femme to the max and using it to manipulate and play with your subs in a way that just like brings them to the edge and their ecstasy and to the space of like embracing the paradox that I think kink allows for us to embrace so much. And yeah, so
Wow. So how long are these classes and like how many weeks is the program?
it is 2 months, and it's every other Sunday in the morning, and it's like 2.5, 3 hours of being online, seeing some crazy things you never thought you would see on Zoom, like a tutorial on strap-on anal play and all of these things. And I think what makes
Just a regular Sunday morning.
Totally.
No worries. No big deal.
Just make sure you're in a private space when you're watching this.
Oh, not at Starbucks.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, not at Starbucks.
Good warning. Yeah. And I think what makes Mistress Class so unique is that I kind of like, it's almost a Trojan horse. You come into it being like, oh, I want to learn how to be a cool, sexy dom. And you learn all of that, learn all the skills. But then there's also something more. It's also the inner transformation that happens. And so what I share is my own like philosophy and alchemical approach to BDSM, which kind of unlocks all of the elements of BDSM, which is a triple acronym that stands for bondage and discipline, dom and submission, sadomasochism. So they see how all those elements play out in the dungeon and how to play with all of that. And then I show them what it looks like outside the dungeon. How does bondage and discipline, what does that look like outside? And so I share with them the metaphors and the symbols of what I think BDSM is, because my own theory about BDSM is that it's a highly densely symbolic art and practice of making the unconscious conscious.
Ooh.
And what I mean by that is that everything inside the dungeon is such a conscious act, right? The sub comes to the dom and consciously like chooses someone to allow them to degrade them, humiliate them, put them through all these situations. And also in the dungeon, there are no lies.
Right.
And you know exactly where the power is, where the power is being given on to. And outside the dungeon, we aren't acting so consciously. Right. And that's when we give away our power and lose our power, because there are these moments in which we give away our power and they're unconscious moments. And so if you become aware of those unconscious moments, you won't give away your power so easily. So what I walk these mistresses through is what each element, like how it looks like outside the dungeon. What is this a metaphor for? When we play with bondage in the dungeon, you know that you're in bondage, but outside the dungeon, we all have our own bondage, but it's not visible.
Ooh, like what?
Oh, I mean like the metaphorical like golden handcuffs. Right?
Or like at our jobs.
Yeah, exactly. The thing that's so comfortable, that looks good or makes us feel like it's propping us up, but it's actually holding us back. Right? And what's our metaphorical blindfold? What's the thing that we choose not to see or don't want to see? Because it would mean that we'd have to make a hard choice.
What about like getting flogged?
Yeah.
What would be like a real life?
What's a real life version? It's like the flagellation that you would feel. You might be self-flagellating yourself when you criticize yourself, or like that's
inflicting some sort of pain.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I also think like outside the dungeon, we should be giving and receiving pain, sort of like what sadist and masochist does. But what I mean by that, it's not the pain that comes from a whip, but it's the pain that comes from the truth. I think that if we learn how to give and receive the painful truth, have difficult conversations, make tough choices, you'd actually be more in your power and live the life that you truly want.
You'd be so much more liberated.
Exactly.
Because a lot of things that you're holding in is not allowing you to liberate yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's the bondage that we don't see. But once you see that bondage, then you could figure out your discipline practice to find your way out of that bondage. So bondage and discipline, that's kind of how it looks like outside the dungeon.
What do you say to the people that said, people who do BDSM have mental health issues?
Well, I used to think that too when I first started in 2005.
No way.
Well, I didn't know what this was. I mean, that was a time when I was like, this was so underground, but I was curious. I was like, what is it about?
And it's such a strong narrative. I see it a lot on the internet. It's like, oh, these people, quote unquote, these people have mental health issues. Like, what do you say to that?
Well, I think it's like, it's understandable that there are these misconceptions that the people who are choosing to be degraded, to be kicked in the balls, to be humiliated for their small penis, they must have some issue, right? It's like, why would anyone put themselves through that, which sounds so horrible? But the thing is, what they don't realize is that the people who want to explore this, it's just a desire that they have. And they're just wondering, what would happen if I do allow someone to flog me or
Kick my balls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I used to have that same misconception. I was like, well, I don't understand. But then when I finally became a dom and connected with these incredible subs, I was like, these are the sweetest people, the most conscious, most aware people, and the people who are saying, I don't care what people think. I'm going to explore this kink with a dom. And I think what's happening on like this interesting, like subconscious level is that, you know, why is it that we have these fetishes like small penis humiliation or cuckolding? These are the things that I think is part of the male collective unconscious fear. Right. It's like, these are the things that most men would fear.
Right.
Like if they
Small
were
penis.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's because of the way our culture and society has conditioned us to like define masculinity in such a narrow way.
Mm-hmm.
If you cry, that makes you less of a man. If you want to get fucked in the ass, that makes you less of a man, right?
Mm-hmm.
All these things. But that just limits the experience for men. They can't emote, they can't cry, they can't feel, they can't be fucked, they can't receive. And these things, as you know, we have experienced, feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the number of subs who experience getting fucked in the ass for the first time, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe there's so many men out there who have not had this experience. It's the best orgasm ever. It's a full body orgasm, right?
Right.
And it's only when you allow yourself to have this experience that society deems not masculine can you experience this pleasure that so many men can't tap into because of fear of judgment or being deemed less of a man.
Right. So when you have a session, how do you guarantee like safety?
Well, I think the most important thing that we always do before a session begins is have the negotiation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when the dom does a very thorough intake of the sub's desires, their boundaries, where they are with their limits on marks and all of that, and the safe word. And once all of that is in play, then you can have a session. Is there safety in boundaries? If you don't know someone's boundaries, then both of you don't feel safe playing.
Right.
But if I know exactly where your boundaries are and you know that I know, then you can really surrender and let go. Because you know I'm going to take care of you. I'm not going to like...
Going to take care of you, baby girl.
Yeah, the best way I know how.
I love that. And safety is very important. Safer sex is the best sex, like I always say. So that's why I love MyOne condoms. MyOne condoms is my favorite condoms ever. They have 52 different sizes. I mean, just the most amount of different sizes, right? Like you can find the perfect condom for you. And they also do custom fit for you. So you can go to MyOne condoms and get a fit kit where, you know, you'll get this tool. You can measure your dick like length and girth. Yes, you can measure the girth like this. I feel like if I have a penis, this would be my girth. But you measure your length and girth, and then you put it in the website, and they will tell you what size you are, and you can get a custom-made condoms.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's super cool.
That's next level bespoke condoms.
Exactly. Yeah. Because if you were getting, you know, your suits custom, you get your hair cut, it's obviously custom, right? Like you don't just get like a mold on it. Like, you know, your haircut is custom, your suit is custom. Why not your condoms? I think a lot of people get anxiety about condoms because maybe the condom they buy from like CVS is like too big, then they look kind of weird with the leftovers at the end. If it's too small, then they're like, it's too tight, it hurts, or they're afraid it will slip off a break. So there's just a lot of different issues when it comes to regular condoms. That's why I really love MyOne condoms. Again, you can go to the link in the episode description and get MyOne condoms, man, and get your custom condom made. What would be your length of your penis?
Oh, mine for my like dildos that I use?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to use probably, let's see, I think it would be this full thing actually. This whole length.
Full thing is the length of your
maybe
strap-on?
not. Okay, let me. Maybe it's right up to that one, like right there. So I'd say that's kind of the one I like to use, especially for like oral.
Yeah.
Oral worship.
Oral worship.
Yeah, like having them orally worship your cock.
So your man client.
Yeah.
will want to worship
Yeah.
your
Give me a really
strap-on
good
cock.
blowjob first, get it
Give
nice
you
and
a blowjob. But then
yeah.
you don't really get physical pleasure from that, right?
I mean,
You get
I
mental
love,
pleasure.
I mean, the look of it, the vibe of it, and you can feel some pressure, like the dildo like pressing up against you when they like do it nice and rhythmically. But I get off on the visuals of like seeing my sub in a position that feels like they are just, all they care about is pleasing me. And if I tell them to suck my cock the way I like for it to be sucked, then yeah.
Wow. So in that case, I'm asking this out of curiosity.
Yeah.
In that case, like, are they like gay?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I think that's, or some
Well, or
are,
like they
but
might have desires to
oh,
sleep with men, but
maybe
maybe
they
they're
have
afraid
this
to
like,
do it in their
yeah,
real life, and then they want to do it with a professional.
exactly.
I don't know. I'm just
I think it's
theorizing.
definitely a kink. The forced by is also a kink as well. And so I wouldn't
The
say
what?
forced by. So it's like you're forcing your sub to be bisexual.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that's a kink
That's
of
a
the
kink.
sub.
Yeah, that's a kink of
It's
the sub.
the sub's kink that you help perform out.
Yeah, I kind of like put them in the situation where they're being
They
forced
must be
to be. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. There's so much of this world I don't know.
Yeah, their orientation is definitely, a lot of them who are into that are not gay. They
Right.
just want that experience where they feel like they are small, where they are the one being handled.
It's about power.
Yes, it's about feeling like they get to like receive, they get to be fucked, they get to do all the things that most women get to experience, the pleasure of letting go and surrendering and being a good cocksucker, all of that.
A good cocksucker.
Yeah.
That's on my Tinder
Men
profile.
want to be called that too.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
I don't know why it's so endearing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
This is so wholesome. To
It
me.
is.
It's like wow.
Yeah, it's more
feeling
wholesome than you think.
accepted and supported. That's so wholesome.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and
Yep.
and your office. I mean, not office. Is it a dungeon?
It's a dungeon. Yeah.
Slash office.
Yeah.
Is in California.
Yep.
In Southern California.
Mhm. It's in
And
Northern California.
Northern
Yeah.
California, and people travel to you
Yes.
to do this.
Yeah, they come to me.
Wow. And what kind of clientele do you have? Like, are they young? Are they old?
I think it's a pretty wide range.
Okay.
I would say that typically, I think a lot of the clients are more in their middle age. I
Okay,
feel
like
like that's 40s and upward. And I think it's because and I think there are more younger subs these days than there were before, because I think that people are finally coming to realize, wait, I should explore my desires.
Right.
I shouldn't wait till a midlife crisis to happen. But typically,
Buy a Corvette, get a dominatrix.
Exactly. But I think a lot of men by their like midlife realize that they should be exploring their innermost desires. And I think that now that kink is becoming somewhat more mainstream, I think younger folks are seeking that out and realizing there's like no shame to it. It's totally normalized. But I would say typically for my own experience, because I've been doing this for like 20 years, that it's mostly middle-aged men. Because I think they're the ones who have been felt so limited by society and our cultural constraints of what it means to be a man.
You've been doing this for 20 years? You
Yes.
literally look like you're 20. You were like, you came out of the womb, a dominatrix, with like a little whip.
I think something happened. Like, I think like my age, just like I started when I was 23 and I feel like I still feel like I'm 23.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like something happens when you keep on playing. You don't get old or something.
You just keep on playing. I
Yeah.
love that.
Secret
Okay.
alive.
I'm curious. So a lot of your clients are men. Do you work with couples?
Yes, I do.
What do you do for them?
It really depends on their like situation. If
Their fantasy.
Exactly. If it's like the male partner wants to be dominated, but the female partner doesn't know how to, then I would join her and show her how to top him. And it's also the other way around, where maybe I'm partnering up with the male partner and showing him how to top her, and then it could be a switch as well. Yeah,
Okay.
so it's kind of helping.
So like tutorials.
Exactly, tutorial, but like still keeping the whole like flow of a session, so that it's like you're still in the erotic space, but then you're also learning a lot of tricks as you go.
So everyone gets to experience pleasure.
Exactly.
What is typically like the goal of a session?
The goal of a session, I think, is I would say typically to get off. And it could be actual getting off, because in a session, unlike other sex work professions, seeing a dom, typically there is no sex with a dominatrix. And how the sub or client gets off is that the mistress may allow them to self-release in the end, which means that they would masturbate and come. And sometimes they don't self-release because we just want them in chastity for weeks or months on end. And so that's also a thing as well.
How long has someone been in chastity?
Oh my God. I've had a friend and colleague who had her sub in chastity for 3 years.
Stop.
Yeah, he's basically a eunuch. And yeah.
Wow. And he did this obviously willingly because he wants to please his dom.
Yeah. And I think it's also his desire too.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about, like, let's say when a guy comes in and he's like, I've been thinking about this. And is there something that you wouldn't do?
Oh, yeah. I have my limits too.
Okay. Like, what are some of these?
Let's see. I don't do brown showers.
That's poop?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't get into race play or religious play.
Is there a reason why you don't do like race play and religious play?
It doesn't flow for me. So I like to be in a scene where I could really flow, but like that kind of stuff, it just feels, something about it doesn't feel aligned with my like desires. And maybe there's also something that feels slightly off about it to me too.
Yeah.
That's just like, I don't really feel this way. And so
I don't vibe with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you done financial domination?
Yeah.
And what does that entail?
It really varies from one sub to another, but it just means that they really get off on paying you. And so it's kind of like a lot of verbal humiliation, right? Where it's just
What would you say?
It would just be like, oh, you want this right now, huh? You want it so badly. You want me to piss on you. You want it so badly that you're going to drain your wallet. And it's just like there's certain trigger words. It's just like pay pig, drain your wallet. I'm going to make you pay for it.
Wow. How do you know that you're doing it within like the boundary, that they're not like, going out like and get a loan from a bank? And
yeah, no, I like to be ethical about it. I like also am mindful of where their constraints are. Like I know what their limits are. And so I work within those limits, and I'm pretty good about like intuiting what that is. They want the feeling of losing control. And at the same time, they don't want to be completely broke. Maybe some have been, but I'm pretty ethical about it. And I just like to play with that element where it's just kind of fun to get creative about FinDom, where it's just like, okay, I don't know. One thing I did for one of my Fin subs was, I want you to go to the mall, go shopping, and look for this one thing that you really want to buy. And look at the price tag and then send me that amount. And
so it's a game.
Yeah, it's like you could really make it a fun game where it's just like, okay, on Monday, you're going to send me $11. The next day, double it. The next day, double that. And it doubles up pretty quickly, right? And yeah, so it's just kind of fun to play with.
Interesting.
It's games. Yeah.
I've had quite a few people DM me asking if they can be my financial sub.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I honestly don't know how to do this. You should look up these people. And I just recommend all the other doms.
Well, I think what you should do is set up a wish list on like Throne and put some items on there and be like, well, prove to me that you are. Here, get something off my wish list. And then,
do you have a wish list?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What are some of the items on your wish list?
Well, let's see. I have some like latex dresses and like some
sexy
boots
stuff.
And shoes.
Do you ever have things that are like completely practical, like a Dyson?
Oh, that's a good idea. No, I have like a set of like collection of like Jung's books, the black books, like some things that I would want. That's just like, okay.
But not like cleaning supplies or...
Not cleaning supplies, yeah.
Sexy gifts.
Yeah, sexy gifts.
Yeah. What advice would you give someone that wants to become a dom?
I would tell her that she should do it. Like, I think every woman should explore being a dom, even if it's just for a day. I think being a dom is what I think it's kind of one of the greatest life hacks that is available to women. And it's just, you kind of like see the matrix and you like uncover it and you're like, there's a loophole into this whole other world where you are worshipped and adored and adorned for being you. And you get to like really, truly be treated like the goddess that you know that you are, and be the child that likes to play in all the ways. And my advice is you should do it, and you should find somebody who you think would be a good mentor. Because to be a dom, if you ask any dom how she got started, she would tell you that she knew a dom, and that dom showed her the way, even if it's just pointing to a house of domination to like apply for and join, which is what happened to me. But you have to find somebody to kind of show you what that path is, because you can't just like go into it without that guidance.
And you're mentor to a lot of women.
Yeah.
Because of your school.
Right. To about 1,000 at this point. Yeah.
Wow. And do they, I guess it's a mix, right? If they go off to do it professionally or just like apply it in their life.
Exactly. Half of the women in Mistress Class want to become pro-doms, and the other half are there to just explore it for personal growth.
Is there a way to market? Like if you're a new pro dom, like is there a way to market yourself? Because obviously social media is a little bit limited because of shadow ban. Like how do people find pro doms?
There is like a space in which you could put an ad up. I think Tryst is kind of the place that you could put an ad up as a dom. And
Tryst?
Tryst. Tryst. Tryst.link. And then I think X, or formerly known as Twitter, like that's a place that you could.
It accepts all kinds of things,
and they're not as strict as IG about the words that you can use. And then I think the best thing you could do is connect with other pro-doms, play with them, cross-promote with them. And I think another huge part is like really explore your inner artist as the dom. Those who have artistry in their work as in sessions and in the way they present themselves photographically or in like video. It's like the more that you can like allow your inner artist to come out and really create, I think, a unique dom persona rather than kind of what the canonical dom looks like, the more that you can infuse your personality into your alter ego as a dom, I think the more successful you'll be and the more happy you'll be, because you're not trying to fit into any mold. You're just being you, amplified to the version that gives you permission to be as sexy and powerful as you want to be.
Yay, and it's authentic.
Yeah.
So my last question is then, like, what is your unique niche in terms of like being a professional dom?
I think for me, my niche is probably like a spiritual growth aspect into the play, where I like subs who are open to like expanding themselves, not only in the scene, but also in their everyday life. And so I like to find the ways in which I like get to expand their life beyond the session. So it's just like, I'm also telling you like how you should eat. You should exercise more and lose like 30 pounds and like, you know, cram really hard for this exam so that you could pass it. Like I like to be the disciplinatrix. So I like pushing your edges, not only in the dungeon, but also in your everyday life.
Wow. You're like their mommy everywhere.
Yeah.
What are some of your like last wise words before you go?
Just be curious. I think like if you have a desire, if you have a fantasy, a dream, and it could be a sexual one or it could be one that is just for your life, like let that dream dom you. Like carve that path so that you could realize that dream. It could be as simple as seeing a dom and having that sexual fantasy played out. But if you have like a big wild dream for your life and the life you want to create, I think that you should do it. And the way to doing that is to be true to yourself and to the world around you. And that means speaking your truth always, like never lying, never bending the truth, and always being true. And it's harder to do than you think. People avoid difficult conversations, avoid breakups.
And they tell white lies.
Exactly. Yeah. Every time you do that, you give away your power. So the skill of a dom, a person in their power, is they know how to speak the truth.
Love that.
And the more that you can do it, the more you can be true, then every part of you will be true, even your wildest dreams.
Basically, take her class. Because I know I want to. Where can everyone find you?
Yes, mostly online,
Mhm.
IG. I'm at Colette Pervette and also on my website, pervette.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much. This has been so illuminating.
Yay, I'm so happy that we finally got to have this conversation.
Yeah, and also don't forget to check out Magic Mind for mental clarity and clean energy and calm, no stress, calm life. So check it out. I'll have the link in the episode description for also like all the discounts and stuff like that. Definitely click on that link. Okay, well, my loves, thank you so much for listening and watching and liking and commenting and sharing. I am doing this for you. I'm here because of you. So thank you for being here. I'm sending you all my good energy and have an orgasmic day. Bye.
Thanks for listening. This was Love Bites. Love Bites. By Dr. Tara. Follow Dr. Tara on social media at lovebites.co. Have an orgasmic day.